Canada is and always has been our country. And we want Canada to be a true north that is as strong and as free as it can be in every way that matters, the best country in the world. I said these words as Prime Minister, and they are still true today. I led Canada through the global financial crisis. Today, we also face big challenges from the Trump administration and the performance of our own economy. The two men running to lead us both once worked for me, and my choice unequivocally is Pierre Poilievre. Only Pierre is putting forward an actual plan to make life affordable, make our streets safer, and put us in a strong position in dealing with the U.S. Only Pierre will bring change. Please join with me in voting Conservative.
Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to go over the debates that just happened. Oh yeah, I got some highlights for everybody. My name's Mark Nixon, and let's get into it. Let's go. We're going to start things off with the absolute MVP of the debates, which goes to Yves-François Blanchet. And the polls have shifted. They've completely gone light blue. Oh, he was on it. And guess who he went after? The one, the only, Mark Carney. Here we have Blanchett drop the nuke on Mark Carney. Let's take a look at this clip.
You claim to be very different from Mr. Trudeau. Now, the point is to show that you are any better than Mr. Trudeau. You claim to have a lot of experience in many things, and you know things. Last time we had somebody saying that they knew things, it was the senators, and they killed the law that protected supply management because they knew better than us and were elected by nobody, exactly like you are today. You say that you are a great crisis manager. Which one? I heard of nothing. As far as I know, Brexit happened, even if you were against it. You say you are a great negotiator. What have you negotiated but fiscal paradises in Bermudas or Cayman Islands? You have to prove something, and you have to reveal what you own in those companies if you want people to believe you.
Wow, that's right. Canadians need to know what's inside your finances so that we can know if there's a conflict of interest by voting for you. He's been very, very good at negotiating, paying zero, and I mean absolutely zero taxes in Canada, in the Cayman Islands and Bermuda. And oh, did I love hearing Blanchett go after that exact point. He was on point and he was ready for this debate because I want to show you the polling numbers in Quebec before this debate happened, and I'll let you decide where things are going to go after this. Here we have 338 polling, which shows the Liberals have, in the polls, have 45 seats with only 20 going to Bloc Québécois. Well, I have to say, after Yves-François Blanchet's performance last night, I feel like it's no longer going to be a Liberal stronghold and sweep with these 45 seats. I believe that Yves might have won over Quebecers. So yeah, those 45 seats are all up for grabs now. And yeah, it's all because of Bloc Québécois. Is this going to be good for the Conservatives? Because I think the Liberals were counting on sweeping Quebec. I got another clip of Yves-François Blanchet. Let's take a look.
You have been the manager of Brookfield. It's supposed to be a green investment fund. But we now know that 50% of the investments of Brookfield is in fossil fuel.
Oh, that's right. 50% of his Brookfield is in fossil fuels.
It's not so green. You seem to want to support oil and gas industry. That's interesting. You want to support prefab housing, and it's also in the investments of Brookfield, but not in Canada. You want to support nuclear power, smaller reactors, which are more dangerous, by the way, and Brookfield has investments in Westinghouse. You have hidden the money of Brookfield in Bermuda and Cayman Islands. $30 billion. Billions of dollars lost for Canada. You are having your taxes being paid by families, workers, elders in Canada and Quebec instead of paying your own taxes. So I want to know, will you, before the election, reveal all the details of your assets, as Mr. Singh has done, as Mr. Poilievre has done, and as I have done? We have a right to know under those circumstances.
Let's let him answer.
Yeah, and so for everybody that watched the debates, what Mark Carney said after is that he's following the rules, and we will have zero idea where his financial assets are because they're now in a blind trust. He knows where his assets are, but us Canadians are going to be voting blind. And we all know that he benefits from his pipelines all around the world. And if Canada has their own pipelines, that will be a conflict of interest for all of his assets. We won't even find out. We're voting blind. Now I have a clip of Pierre Poilievre. His performance was absolutely flawless. He was professional, zoned in, poised. The only thing was Jagmeet Singh wouldn't allow him to speak, and we're going to get to Jagmeet Singh, but he never lost focus. You know, for the first time in 20 plus years as serving in government, he showed that he is ready to become the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Feeding your families, or ever even owning a home, you're worried your kids are in danger. But I'm here to say it doesn't have to be this way. With change, we can restore the Canadian promise so that hard work gets you a beautiful house on a safe street under a proud flag. We can do it with hope for a change.
That's right, Canada. He's the only candidate, I believe, that provides hope. And that's why we're seeing our young people across Canada vote for the very first time. And they're coming out in droves, and they're voting for change. And that's why you'll see I posted the advanced polling in Canada have now opened and record turnouts. There are hour-wait lineups, and most of the voters are between the ages of 18 and 40. The youth have had enough. They're not going to let the boomers decide their future. This is a movement, a massive shift, and the polls, yeah, they didn't see this coming. Check out how many people viewed this post, 42,000, and it's only been a couple hours. I've increased the playback speed to 1.25, so it's faster. However, I've actually clipped all of the interruptions that Jagmeet Singh did, and the most outrageous part about the whole thing is Pierre Poilievre was actually talking to Mark Carney and the Liberals. He wasn't talking to NDP at all, but yet Jagmeet Singh felt inclined, like he had to interrupt. And guess what? CBC did not do their part. They should have actually turned off his microphone because his interruptions were uncalled for.
What Mr. Poilievre is saying is that have no rules, have no regulation, have one stop shop over any energy.
We just got to let him finish the sentence. Let's just let him finish the sentence.
That is not true. In levels of repeal, it takes now 17 years to get a major project approved in this country. That is why in the last 10 years we've had the worst economic growth in the entire G7. We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a change, Josh.
Sounds wild when you say that.
We actually need to get things done. We need a change, and our Conservative plan for change will repeal the No New Pipelines law. The Toronto Star debunked your falsehoods.
It was 6 homes,
and I appreciate neither Liberals or NDP are very good with math, but in that year, the year I was the minister, if I could,
which is great.
The year I was minister, we had $1,000.
Guess what happened?
And one bedrooms rented out for $900 Liberals. And now we have Mr. Carney making tens of billions of dollars of spending promises that will ultimately continue to build bureaucracy. We don't need more bureaucracy in Ottawa. We tried that for 10 Liberal years, Mr. Carney. What we need is to build homes in communities. And that means axing taxes on home building and getting the government out. And that plan includes
voted against every measure to help people out.
Cutting income taxes by 15%. Because hard work is actually being punished. Is actually being punished because of the very high taxes, affordable food, affordable home on a safe street, and that's what we will deliver.
You want to save people $2,000, but cut their dental care, which is thousands of dollars, cut their child care, which is thousands of dollars, cut pharmacare coverage, which is thousands of dollars. That's not a very good math deal right there. You're going to save people $2,000, but cost them tens of thousands of dollars. That's why you cannot afford Conservatives, and you certainly can't trust the Liberals on their own. You need New Democrats.
Mark Carney.
That's why the police, it's not true, and that's why the police, actually, if I could, the police actually endorsed me, the police, the Liberals want to protect, I want to protect Canadians from criminals, the Liberals want to protect the aluminum plant.
You want to let them
Canadian oil and gas, and your idea is to just like President Trump wants. My plan is to bring nations so that we actually help the environment while bringing home the jobs for our people at the same time. That is a sense of change.
Mr. Carney, we've got, hang on a second. I want to get Mr.
But you know the answer?
Hidden the carbon tax.
You're just throwing out
thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars.
Extra
costs.
Actually, I actually do know the answer. That question is wrong.
When you add taxes to steel, you raise the price of everything that uses steel. When you add everything taxes to the when you add the carbon tax onto offshore.
That's enough. As you can see, Jagmeet Singh the entire time interrupted Pierre Poilievre while he was speaking. He didn't interrupt anyone else. It was only Pierre Poilievre. And Pierre Poilievre wasn't even talking to Jagmeet Singh. He was talking to Mark Carney. Honestly, Jagmeet Singh should have been kicked out of the debate. At minimum, his microphone should have been turned off when people are responding. Every single other candidate respected people when they were speaking, including Pierre Poilievre. He didn't speak at all when Jagmeet Singh was speaking. He didn't speak at all when Mark Carney was speaking, or Yves Blanchet. The only person that was interrupting was Jagmeet Singh for Pierre Poilievre, and it was absolutely disgusting to watch. I'm going to show you one more clip from the debate. It's the rapid fire, so it's 30 seconds per candidate. I think it's important. Let's go.
Monsieur Poilievre, you've previously promised to defund the CBC as one of your very first acts as Prime Minister. Is that still the plan?
Yes, CBC will continue to operate as a self-funded, Canadian-owned and controlled non-for-profit that raises money like other media organizations through sponsorships, subscriptions, advertising, licensing fees, and countless other things that will ensure Canadians who still want to listen and view its content will be able to do so. And at the same time, we'll allow freedom of the press so that everybody has their voice heard and they can make their own decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. The next question to you, 30 seconds. Would you remove some of Canada's legal tax avoidance loopholes that companies that you have worked for have used?
Look, I think that what we need to do is undertake a comprehensive review of our corporate tax system and do that on the basis of the right principles. We've got to have fairness, transparency, sustainability, and competitiveness. So we need a tax system, a corporate tax system, including being part of a international minimum corporate tax through the OECD.
And that is time. Mr. Singh, the question for you is, if you...
So basically what Mark Carney said, he's going to do absolutely nothing. He offered a word salad.
Hold the balance of power after this election is over, what would your price be to support another party?
We've laid out our priorities. We want to make sure we bring down the cost of groceries, build homes that people can afford. I can also tell you that we would defend CBC, unlike Mr. Poilievre, who wants to cut it. And we would close tax loopholes and offshore tax havens, even though Mr. Carney didn't respond to that. And selling stocks and shares to make profits and then having less taxes on that is not hard work. And so those aren't the job creators. The people who are job creators are the hardworking men and women that contribute to our economy.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, so Jagmeet Singh keeps repeating the same talking points for the last 6 years. And yeah, that's why no one's voting for Jagmeet Singh.
Monsieur Blanchet, kind of the same question. If you hold the balance of power in the next minority parliament, if it is that, what would be the price of your support?
Respect for Quebec. That's quite easy. I don't want to go against what Canada wants to do for itself, but I don't want Canada to impose an economic vision or a multiculturalist vision on Quebec, which is different in terms of language and values and secularity and equality between people. So I want to be a partner, and if Quebec is respected, Canada has nothing to fear from the bloc because we vote for what is good for Quebec. It only has to be good for Quebec.
Thank you.
There you go. It only has to be good for Quebec. Anyone else. But you know what? That's what he was there to do. He needs to gain the votes from Quebec. He doesn't need to gain votes from anyone else. We have a post from Maya Bragshaw, which counted all of the and ums that Mark Carney did during the debate. You can the number of ums and ahs, she counted 172. Holy crap. Actually, that's not a record. I've actually counted over 300 times he said and ah in a 30-minute interview. So he's actually improved. But yeah, 172. And I think one of the most important parts of the entire debate is when Mark Carney asked Pierre Poilievre about his security clearance. It was like, wow, you probably should have avoided that one because Pierre Poilievre was ready for it.
Why not? We're in a dangerous and divided world. We talked earlier about the challenges in the Middle East, the threats from Iran, threats from Russia, Russia's aggression in Ukraine. We have the threats from China, which I raised. We have the United States, which is fundamentally changing its security relationships, its commercial relationships. We have all this. And in the context of that, everyone on this stage, Mr. Blanchet, Mr. Singh, myself, we have our top secret security clearance. We have our top secret security clearance. I got mine within 3 weeks. It wasn't hard. But I felt it was important that I had it so I could be in a position to be informed about that dangerous world and take decisions at. And Mr. Poilievre, it is now 950 days, if my numbers are right, since you've had the opportunity to get your top secret security clearance, and you've refused. Why?
Well, first of all, I have got my security clearance when I was a minister. I got top secret clearance at the time, so there's no problem getting that. But when the government made this recent offer, they said that if I got the secret security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged under the security law, and I could be prosecuted if I spoke freely about matters of foreign interference. Now, given that Canada has experienced Chinese interference by Beijing, the government of China, in 2 consecutive elections, I needed to do my job to speak freely without fear of prosecution. And that was not something I would be allowed to do. Even Thomas Mulcair, the former leader of the NDP, said that when he was the leader of the opposition, he never would have accepted the kind of gag order that your government and Mr. Trudeau's government was attempting to impose on me. And it's good that I'd made that decision because it has allowed me to speak freely about things like the case where one of your candidates, sir, actually said that he wanted to send a political opponent to China under a bounty threatening his life or imprisonment, and you refused to get rid of him. Now, it might have something to do with the fact that you went to China not long ago to get a $250 million loan for your company, but the reality is you refused to stand up for a Canadian who was being threatened by a foreign government, and I was able to speak freely on that matter because I refused the gag order that the Liberal government attempted to impose on me.
Well, this.
Wow. That's what I'm trying to say. Pierre Poilievre was ready for that question, and what a response. Mark Carney could not even dispute what Pierre Poilievre just said, and it is so true. That's it from the clips from the debate, but I have to say, Pierre Poilievre, he absolutely crushed it. And it's not just me that felt that Pierre Poilievre crushed it. CBC actually agrees. You won't believe this clip.
I think Pierre Poilievre made some yards. I think he had a good night. He looked focused. He was confident. He was fluent. He presented his case well. He was not just a critic, but also outlining his own plan. So I think by the normal standards of how you judge these debates, I think he had a good night.
And I do agree with Andrew that Pierre Poilievre had a good night. But
his goal was to sound more prime ministerial and look less like an attack dog that we've come to know in the House of Commons. And I do think that he succeeded in that.
Wow. Do you hear that, Canada? And when you hear that from CBC, that means he did a significantly better job than what everybody expected. And I completely agree. He showed up, and it's been 20 years in the making. He's ready to become the Prime Minister of Canada. And I'm happy to report I didn't hear one or ah from Pierre Poilievre all night long. He just absolutely crushed it. Now I want to show you this. Pierre Poilievre wore a Canada pin. And guess what Mark Carney wore? The Order of Canada. I'll let you decide which one you prefer. And the biggest story about the entire debate was the journalist. Yeah, that's right. In the French debate, independent journalists and CBC, they all were able to ask questions. And it was 50% CBC, which is state run, and then 50% independent. That seemed fair to me. Well, on the English debate, there was arguments that were happening behind the scenes, and it ended up that every single journalist lost their opportunity to ask questions, and it erupted it was insane. Everyone was kicked out, even CBC. I have some exclusive clips that I can't wait to show you.
Put a lavalier mic on and then I can hear
you. You have one set up? You got the levels ready for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're clearly not doing any actual journalism.
Really?
Why, when you guys started gaming the rules and threatening to sue because you didn't get your way, I assumed the rules were out the window.
No, it's right here in front. Like, you follow the rules.
Oh, was that like when it was in black and white saying you should only have one reporter credited so that everyone might have a chance to ask a question? But instead, you wanted to take, what was it, 2-minute long questions so that Poilievre only got asked 3 questions. He usually allows 4 because things move a little bit quicker at his press conference. You guys are so verbose, I'll say. Most of us didn't get a question.
And for the Q&A.
For context there, that was a CBC reporter that was pissed that independent journalist at True North was able to ask 3 questions, and they weren't able to ask a 4th question for CBC, and CBC's crying about it. Let's keep taking a look at these clips. It's absolutely insane.
Being canceled.
There's not 13 rebels here. Kian Bexley doesn't work for us. You're angry because you didn't like 4 questions.
Well, it's a Potemkin village, right? You have as many outlets as you can start up websites,
You guys don't
right?
listen to the
I don't
facts.
even know
Let
what
them talk.
Ricochet is. I assume you take government subsidies. I assume, is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. Listen, I understand you don't like our point of view.
Take government subsidies,
you don't take any government subsidies. I don't believe
take LGI funding. We have one LGI funded position.
I don't even know it. Oh, there you go. That's government funding. You know, it's okay for you to hate Rebel News or hate our ideas.
I don't.
But
I
once
don't hate
a year,
you, Ezra.
Oh, come on.
You caused an incident.
No,
You're not listening.
Oh, Terry Gillen! Hey! Terry Gillen!
What are you gonna? Bro, you guys are out. You touched me with that.
No.
I did not touch you. You're a liar. You're a goddamn liar.
You're a liar.
Oh yeah, nice try, guys. You just hit me. Look at what you're doing. Look at that. Police.
No, the police is backed by the liberal.
The director of the Leaders Days Commission, and I'm sorry to announce that there will be no scrum tonight for the leaders because we don't feel that we can actually guarantee a proper environment for this activity.
So what you just saw right there was them canceling the question period, saying that it was an unsafe environment. We got to see behind the scenes of what it looked like, and it looks like, yeah, there was some fighting going on, and they just decided to cancel the entire thing. Here we have Ezra Laurent leaving, and he explains a few things of what's going on.
I had a heart-to-heart with Mr. Poilievre, and I think we found common ground. What's the common ground? Well, I'm kidding around. We don't have common. I don't know what is these. Yesterday, I think the independent journalists were a little bit too independent, and the regime journalists are too friendly with the regime. And I've seen a full court press by regime journalists over the last 24 hours to bring in limits to what independent journalists can do.
You mean third-party advertisers, Ezra? Can you talk about the $180,000 you're spending to do advertising, voter contact, both through For Canada and into Rebel News Network Limited?
See, you're wrong on that, and that's what concerns me, is that For Canada is a different group that was registered.
It's paid $170,000 to Rebel News Network Limited. Is that not true?
You're getting your facts wrong, Justin, and I want to make sure you're careful. We were actually talking about the CBC, who want us out of here. The CBC want us kicked out. We're not leaving. The CBC were outraged that Mr. Carney let us in. The CBC had 4 questions yesterday. Rebel News had 4 questions yesterday. The CBC thinks that's normal, and it's abnormal that we do.
Was he talking to you about your accreditation asking questions, or was it about the incident here right now?
It was about neither. It was actually about, what's his name, the ball guy in the CBC.
So you hear that? So CBC is furious that Rebel News got 4 questions and CBC got 4 questions. The thing is that Pierre Poilievre, he probably said, I'd rather have Rebel News ask questions to balance the field. So it's not just state-run media. It's like a well-balanced. There's independent media there. What do you guys think, Canada? Should there be independent media at these events or this debate? Or should it just be state-run, paid-for CBC? I got a couple more stories for you before we end the video. This is Pierre Poilievre's riding in Carleton. There are 91 candidates on the ballot. Look how long this thing is. I guarantee you, you put one of those through those counting machines and it's going to jam immediately. I can't even find Pierre Poilievre on this list. This type of thing should not be allowed. And to close, Pierre Poilievre just made a massive announcement. There's a lot of Canadians that don't think this is a big deal, but this is a massive inconvenience. Pierre Poilievre came out and said, if you vote for me, I will bring back plastic straws. Yes, because this is part of the whole movement. We're bringing back common sense to Canada. Isn't that exciting, Canada? Because it makes 0 sense that the cup is plastic, the lid is plastic, but the most important part, the one that you actually need in order to consume the product, is made out of paper with toxic chemicals, and it doesn't even last long enough, and your entire drink goes to waste. Yeah, we're bringing common sense back to Canada. Let's take a look at this news clip of him making this announcement, and that will end this video.
Conservatives will bring change. We will axe the Liberal food packaging tax to save families $400 on groceries and to save 60,000 Canadians their jobs. We will repeal the federal plastics ban, including the ban on plastic straws, checkout bags, food containers, and cutlery, because consumers and businesses should be free to choose what works best for them.
Wow, there you have it, Canada. We will be able to use bags as we will. And guess what? It's all about choice. I mean, Canadians want to save the planet, and they're going to make their decisions in order to do so. But to have it so inconvenient, most of these reusable bags end up in the garbage anyway. It's just unbelievable how common sense have left the planet. And the Liberals, they wanted to impose this plastic registry. How much cost would that add to when you go and pay for things? And that's the thing. Our politicians continually get raises. They don't have a cost of living crisis. It's Canadian citizens that are feeling the brunt of these ridiculous rules. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. I'll see you on the next report. Let's go.